Hello and welcome to the Central Lyon George Little Rock Football Podcast, brought to you by the CLGLR Quarterback Club. We're recording live from the Rock River Brewery in downtown Rock Rapids. Now, here are your hosts, former CLGLR head coach Toby Lorenzen, current offensive line coach Dwayne Postma, and current CLGLR head coach Curtis Eben.
Vanderzie's going to keep it right side. He's got a first down and more. Down the sidelines he go. Reese is on the loose, and Reese Vanderzee will score for the Central Lyon George Little Rock Lions.
Welcome to this year's first episode of Season 4 of the Central Lyon George Little Rock Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Eben. I'm along with me is Coach Dwayne Postma, Toby Lorenzen, and our special guest this night is Ken Roseberry. We're going to start things off a little bit with a trivia question. What year did Coach Roseberry start teaching at George? Crowd, want to guess?
George High School, not George Little Rock.
Right.
George
Just
High School.
The Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays, that's correct.
I was not born yet, so I'll let you know that.
How about this GLR guy right next to us, Jeff Jagger? Does he know?
Jagger should know this.
Putting you on the spot, Jeff.
Scotty boy got it. 19.
Yeah, he got it.
Thanks, Jess.
So Ken, 1974, you showed up at George, huh?
I did, yep.
But you did teach 1 year before that. And where was that?
It was at Harding Junior High in Cedar Rapids.
And let me get this straight. You taught German and PE.
The first, until we started whole grade sharing between George and Little Rock, I taught all German.
Speaking Sie Deutsch?
And then after that, it was all PE. And I was the AD also. I'd been the AD for 2 or 3 years before we started whole grade sharing between George and Little Rock.
So back in George time, beginning, you were a PE teacher and German teacher. I just want to make sure I got that right.
Correct.
German.
PE teachers are
Ken.
PE teachers are very,
Hey, Ken.
very
Diverse.
Do you know
diverse.
any
Hey, Toby,
bad,
what language did you teach in your first job?
Fine, Scheiß Carol.
those are bad words?
They are, yeah.
Pig Latin.
Scheiß Carol.
Kat for the Dama is a bad one in Dutch.
Oh, it is? Well, that's kind of like Low German.
Yeah, it's Low German.
Yeah,
I'm Fries, so I know that Dutch or German's pretty close.
absolutely.
Oh, man.
Well, at least the bullshit started already, I guess. We'll get more into Coach Roseberry here in a little bit, but we got Mount Rushmore this episode, and we picked cornerbacks. This is a tough one, and I'm going to say why before we begin, and then I'm going to let Coach Postman go first. But
That's good because I was going to volunteer to go first this year.
Awesome.
This time.
The cornerback position is interesting because you have, in my mind, you have two different types of cornerbacks. You have guys that when you have to pick the best, you have guys that you coverage guys. Are they the run fit, hard nosed, cover two corners that sit and bring the pop? You know, so I mean, and both of them. Some have both, and some are very good at one versus the other. So I think it's a tough position when you consider all those different types of attributes that you need to be a good corner. So I still don't even know where I'm at yet, so I'm gonna listen to Coach Postman first. So
Hang on.
Yeah,
Find something to talk about. I
I
keep
can go
forgetting.
otherwise.
No, I want to go first.
Well, remind him that how many heads are on Mount Rushmore, though.
yes, there
little
are
trouble with
4. Just making sure.
Yeah, well, okay, but I
But you
still
don't go
can,
around the back on Mount Rushmore and have
I
six.
still
almost
can say what I
six-
want to say.
6 almost.
You can remind me all you want, but I'm going to say what I want to say.
You are free
right.
to do that.
You know, when we do this, it's tough, especially tonight for me because I'm not a little guy coach. And what Curtis said about 2 different types. Well, duh, but you gotta pick the ones that are best at both. I mean, you can't put a guy on Mount Rushmore that just because he's got a bunch of interceptions but couldn't tackle. That don't work, or vice versa. So I just thought I'd say that.
I feel like they wouldn't play for Schmitty if they didn't know how to tackle, but okay.
Well, and you got different eras. So I'm going to go with some of my consolation guys first. Lance Botts could be anything on any team almost. He was so good. But he's not my Mount Rushmore. Stan Metzger could also be on this. But he's not. Sorry, Stan. Sorry, Botsy. I go a little bit newer era sometimes and sometimes a little bit older era. And I'm going to do that tonight. And this is not, I'm not rating these guys, so the first one I say doesn't mean he's necessarily the best, even though he probably is. But if you don't put Reese Vanderzee on this, you smoked some bad stuff before we started, okay? All right. So, Reese. Next up, I have a feeling, until I say this, none of y'all will have. But I bet you're going to think about it when I say it. But he was a 3-year starter, and he could do it all. And that's Cooper Spies. Very special athlete, very special skills. That's more of your more modern era. I put Troy Metzger on it, and I'm not going to lie to you. Troy and Stan, his younger brother Stan, those boys were good. They were both pretty equal. Troy has the famous hit, we call it, the hit. But Troy, as you would say, Curtis, Troy probably was maybe a little better tackler or run defender type kid. But Troy Metzger is my third guy. And my other one is kind of in between here a little bit. And this guy wasn't the best athlete necessarily. But he was so smart and instincts, and that's Reed Gertis. Reed was such a smart athlete. And by the way, a shout out to Reed on a really good girls basketball season this year. Good job, buddy. So I've got Reed Gertis, Troy Metzger, Cooper Spies, and Reese Vanderzee, and I feel pretty good about it.
Reed just became a father for the second time. Are you all aware of that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way to
Last
go.
week.
You bet.
How dang it, I should have known that. How come I didn't know that?
Yeah.
Congrats, Reed. I know you're listening.
Big congrats, Reed.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And on a great season, too. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, as Dewey always points out,
We'll see how many of these they agree with me on now. They'll copy me.
I could probably put 9 guys on any of our positions, but you obviously have to go through. I know Kurt and I went back and forth today about a lot of things, had a lot of texts on different things as far as that goes. But, and my thoughts on the corner, Kurt, kind of like you, a position that oftentimes is overlooked in our program because, history, most of our so-called, stars or superstars, studs that we think of, were all safeties. The guys that we talk about more in our program were safeties. But a lot of these guys who played our corner position were some of our most dependable players. Some of the guys that, that they had the job of having to line up one-on-one versus some of the best players that we went against. So, these guys are kind of undersold and kind of maybe not the household names that the safeties and our linebackers are at our place. But the 4 I put on there, and like I said, I could easily put 4 more on there. But first one I had was Trent Herta. I feel he's one of the best at the position for when I was coaching. Physical for his size. Obviously, he could run with anybody. And he had the opportunity to coach him. He's one of the faster kids I ever had the opportunity to coach. We didn't face a ton of pass-heavy teams back then, but you never worried about it when he was covering that guy. Next one's Troy Metzger. Obviously, for the reasons that you talked about, Dewey. Not flashy, but super disciplined. And many remember he registered, like I said, one of the best hits ever against Cody DeHaan at MOC in the playoffs. That was a huge hit at that time. I don't know if it was playoff or it was the other MOC game, but
playoffs.
Was it playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay.
If a tackle could change the course of a game, that would be one that.
And he was one of many, and we don't have you don't see a lot of this now in the secondary, especially probably, but he was one of the many one-way players we had. In the 90s at that position. You think about it. We had a lot of guys that played one way in that secondary, and you think, and Schmitty always said, hey, you know, he'd always say it about Troy and Stan. Those guys are getting hundreds and hundreds of reps because they're taking every special team, every scout team rep. So I think that paid off for him. Obviously, Reese Vandersee, one of the best athletes to ever play at Central Lyon and George Little Rock, much less in the secondary. My thoughts of Reese are anytime I think of him as a DB, I think of him shutting down the Weiskamp kid from Williamsburg, totally shutting him down after they talked the kid up forever. He had no game. And the last one I had was Lance Botts, Mr. Everything. Always in the right position, probably one of the most sports smart and situation smart football players that I've ever known and ever had a chance to coach or have things to do with. Didn't have to do a lot of great tackling because obviously when you got Brent Beningay and Tim Jagger playing, you don't have to do a lot of tackling when you're at the corner position there. He's the other one too. So, you know, there's a ton of alternates that I could put on there, but we won't go through that. I'll turn it over to Kurt.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on some of those, both of you guys. I'm going to go obviously number one with Reese. Obviously, he played corner as a junior, and then senior he only played corner when we needed him to shut down somebody, and he literally shut down every person we put him on, and that's probably why he's going to Iowa. I mean, he's that type of kid, and like you said, he's a phenomenal athlete. I'm going to go with Cooper Spees. Cooper was an extremely fluent athlete, three-time All-State player, two-time first-team All-State player as a DB. Just extremely, kind of changed our secondary around lockdown corner type. So Cooper's definitely deserving of that. And then we're going to go, and I'm going to go. I got to go with my teammate Trent Herda. Herda's a kid that, again, speed-wise, played extremely good corner in high school. Went on to college, played 2 years at USF at corner. Trent was an extremely gifted athlete, and so I got to go with him. And the last one, boy, that last one's tough. When you got Botsy and Gertis, but I'm gonna go with Gertis. Gertis is just a super competitive kid. It's one of those things that Gertis also, he had 9 interceptions, and some of those is because he was so undisciplined. But you got to love that part about him because he made so many plays. But the dude was such a competitor. I'm not saying that some of these other guys weren't, but he brought that edge, and that was always fun. He kept everybody. I think back even to the USD camp when they were throwing the ball up in the corner of the end zone, and he had knocked it away, and it was just those kids talked so much smack to him, and Reed just got up and handed it right back to him. So there's a lot of things. It's really hard to, even like an Andrew Austin who only played 1 year at corner, but a 6'6", what is he, 6'6", 6'7",
yeah.
corner that literally shut down. We had 6'6" and 6'5" corners that year. A tremendous Brandon Cool, a 2-year starter on us at corner that, got to the 2 runner-up teams, 07, 08. There's a lot of kids out there that you think of that you can go on. Cole Tilford. I mean, guys that played a lot of really good corner for us, and that's why it's so hard to pick because you realize the corner position it can be so dynamic. It's not like a linebacker, a DT, or a D end. That position is so dynamic. So, but that's my 4 guys. I'm going with Vanderzee, Spees, Herda, and Gertis. So it's been. But I tell you what, it was one of the hardest positions I had to pick from because it's been eating me for 2 days, and Tobe knows that because we've been texting back and forth, and it's been fun. But anyway,
can I ask a question about this Mount Rushmore thing?
Yep.
Is this an ongoing deal? You've picked it for all positions.
Yep.
Yep.
What position did Tyler Starr make the team on?
Wide receiver.
Because he was a safety.
Then he played. Then he moved to linebacker.
And then he went to USD and played defensive end. And then he got drafted in the NFL as a linebacker.
Well, he played He played linebacker for us as a senior.
Okay.
Yep. So he went from safety to linebacker, and then in college went down to D end. So I mean, he had that transition. We always, as a coaching staff, we always say it's easier to move up than it is to move back.
Yeah.
So. For Drew Denicus' example this year, Drew played DN for us as a junior and then moved back to play linebacker. That's really unheard of. But it worked out because Drew's a good athlete. And partially because he didn't gain any weight. But, moving up is easier than moving back. And so, but, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Okay.
he's made some teams, and he's made some teams, and we actually haven't done outside linebackers yet.
No, we haven't.
That's coming up here down the road. We got offensive tackles left, and we have outside linebackers, and then the last one we're gonna do is managers. So,
Managers, okay.
yeah. Kevin O'Brien might get one final shout out. Yeah,
Oh,
we don't know. We don't know.
There's a lot of competition
Yeah,
there.
there is. So
Yeah, there's a lot of competition there.
we got to make sure we stay with that.
Male
so.
and female. We could have a female or two on that.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, there's gonna be some. Well, Ken,
Yeah.
Coach Roseberry, we're here for a reason. It's about you, and I'm excited to learn about the path and about the little history of you, and then also that piece of the CLGLR football piece that is a very interesting piece that a lot of people don't talk about. So, but I shouldn't say don't talk about, but a lot of people don't know about, I should say. So, a little bit about you, Ken. Let's start off. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from?
I'm an Eastern Iowa guy. I grew up on 3 different farms in a town called Center Point. It's 10 miles north of Cedar Rapids. He's an Upper Iowa guy. He knows a little bit about Eastern
Center
Iowa
Point.
as well as I do.
Ted Rogers.
Yeah, right. I went to high school at Center Point. Went there my entire life.
I'll bet you were a stud, weren't you, Ken?
At what?
Everything. At everything.
Not everything. Most
Shit.
stuff. Most stuff. Not
Yeah.
everything, no.
All right. That's what I meant. That's
Not
what
everything.
I meant. All right.
That
We're going to
was,
hear about it. We're going to hear about it.
See, as far as football goes, Center Point didn't have a football team until I was in, I believe, 6th grade. So I didn't get to play junior high football because it was only varsity.
Oh, wow.
And then when I got to the high school level and I played football, I played basketball, really good at baseball. You know, you hear of towns being termed baseball towns. Center Point is a baseball town. Like Wartswood is a baseball town. Like Dyersville, Iowa is a baseball town. But that's where I grew up and went to high school there. And
What'd your parents do?
well, they farmed and stayed at home, my mom, until I was in 8th grade. My dad took a job with the Lynn County Sheriff's Department as a deputy. My mom at the same time went to work as a deputy clerk for Lynn County in the clerk's office. So from the time I was in 8th grade until the time I graduated, I did the farming, basically all of it.
Oh, wow.
And you know what I learned from that? I wasn't going to do it anymore.
Well, that's okay, too.
Yeah.
Well, dang it. Learn what to do and not to do.
Right.
I'm with you, Ken. I milked cows. That was enough. So,
I bet.
That was enough. Cover that. I mean, what do you got for siblings, Ken?
I have, I went to college. I'm looking at your questions here. I went to college in Dubuque, University of Dubuque. Played basketball for 2 years there. Wasn't good enough. Couldn't cut it. I could see the handwriting on the wall. Played baseball. Had a terrific baseball career at the University of Dubuque. And, what was your question?
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 sisters, one older, one younger. We didn't get along all that well when we were growing up, but I get along with them great right now. See, I'm
Where do they live? Where they at?
They're both in the Cedar Rapids area.
Okay.
My younger sister lives just north between Center Point and Cedar Rapids. My older sister lives out by Palo, which is like part of the city, but it's called Palo. And they're both retired just like I am.
Growing up, obviously you said you covered a little bit of this, but playing sports, you kind of did everything. Did you run track?
No.
Did they have a golf team back then?
The last 2 years I was in high school, we had golf.
Did you go for golf?
Yes.
Then? Did anybody play music when you were on the golf course?
No.
No. Okay.
They knew better.
Okay. Just checking.
How did you know I don't like that?
He's got quite the facts check.
Just checking.
You can't get this stuff. Google up Ken Roseberry. You just can't.
Can I guarantee you talk to your wife? I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Well, you can ask anybody if they like if I like music on the golf course, and they will tell you I do not.
So That's an easy one.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer right there.
So going back to your college, you went to Dubuque, but when you went to Dubuque, what made you get into teaching and coach? Anybody that kind of influenced you get there?
Yeah, I pretty much only went to school because if I didn't go to school, I couldn't play baseball or basketball. That's why I went to school. Basically, I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for it.
Hell, you should.
That's just like how a lot of people are. But
Ken, that answers it for a lot of PE teachers.
yeah.
But did you have anybody that influenced you to go to education?
Probably my high school PE coach, his name was Max Anderson. He was also, he kept telling me, he knew I was going to go on to coach. He kept telling me, do girls, don't do boys, do girls. And I listened to him when I got out of college and finally got through Harding and came here and got a job here. I wanted to coach baseball. Baseball is my love. George had a baseball coach, no softball coach. So started that way and kept it going for 33 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's getting her done. So you went to Harding County first. What brought you to George?
A job, the teaching job.
Really? How did you find out? I mean, that is like literally from nowhere to nowhere.
I honestly interviewed for a teaching job at Little Rock, and it didn't work out. But the superintendent at Little Rock and the superintendent at George were, you know, how superintendents are.
Yep.
And the Little Rock superintendent told the George superintendent that I was certified to teach German, and George needed a German teacher.
Rest is history.
That's
huh?
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So
50 years later, here I am.
where's Sue from?
Sue's from Albernette. It's like a small town in the same conference that I played athletics in.
That's Robert Gowry's school, isn't it?
That's East Buchanan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Winthrop.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yep. That's what we were just talking about today. But we, that brings us into your coaching career. Obviously, you did coach at Harding, correct?
Yeah, I coached 7th grade boys basketball at Harding. Guess how many kids I had out for basketball 7th grade?
Well, you need at least 5.
63.
50 years ago.
60.
Holy
Two
smokes.
coaches,
Wow.
63 kids.
How many of you tell them to sit down and just watch you practice?
None. We tried to keep them all busy. But we would go to – our games were on Saturday morning. We would have an A team, which is like your varsity. That's the top 10 players. Have a B game. And in the B game, you had to play 5 guys the first quarter, 5 different ones the second quarter, 5 different ones the third quarter, and then you could mix up. And we had a C game that you did the same thing. 5 guys, 5 guys, 5 guys. Okay, do the math.
You didn't even get to the bottom.
That's 40.
Yeah.
You just got 23 left.
Holy smokes.
Halftime show. You have a
Yeah.
halftime show?
No, no.
Hey, we used to have halftime shows.
Halftime show.
Holy cow. That's incredible.
How big was Harding that
Yeah.
you had
What
63
school
boys?
is it now?
That's it's in the Cedar Rapids district, right? You
Yes,
said?
it's Cedar Rapids. It feeds Kennedy.
Shit, I don't know that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense then, yeah.
That one year I was there, it was 7th, 8th, and 9th grades. Junior high at the time was 950 kids in this school, 3 grades, 950. We had 3 kids on the 9th grade team that could dunk.
Holy cow.
So yeah,
And that's
So you
50
go-
years
So you
ago.
had more kids on your 7th grade team than you did probably in the whole school at George when you got here.
right.
Pretty
Well,
much.
per class.
Per class,
not
yeah.
the whole school, but per class, yes.
Wow.
And it was the ritzy part of Cedar Rapids. So you can imagine these attitudes on some of these kids that you had to deal with.
Were parents an issue back then?
Negative.
Ken, were parents ever an issue for you?
No,
I figured that.
pretty much not.
Boy, I would have guessed that. I would
Same
have bet
with you?
Oh, yeah, they're not. No.
No.
That may be the head coach, but not for me.
Yeah, right.
Shit.
So-
Not for me.
So in 1973, you were at Harding. 1974, you came to George.
Yep.
What sports? When you came? What did you obviously? What sports did you take over?
Well, I was the head softball coach, head girls No, my first year I was the assistant girls basketball coach because the superintendent wanted me to be mentored by Ron Snyder, which was fine. So I took over as the head coach my second year, and I was a head softball coach from day one for 33 years. And I'm outside my classroom, my German classroom, up in the hall in the spring after basketball. These girls keep coming up to me and they're like, "When does track practice start?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I get another one. "When does track practice start?" "Mr. Roseberry?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I marched down to the superintendent's office and I said, "These girls are asking me when track practice starts. Who's the coach?" "Well, if we have enough girls, you are."
Attaboy.
So I was.
Okay.
And I coached track for years and years and years, mostly girls. There were a few years in there. It gets a little foggy with the way we switch back and forth. But I coached boys and girls for 2 or 3 years, but mostly girls track.
So you were head softball, girls basketball, and track. Did you do golf?
No,
No. They play music.
no.
Okay.
Vocal or instrumental, I'm into that stuff.
But you know what? I was looking today. You have over 500 wins as a girls basketball coach, correct?
Correct.
I could not, though, for the life of me, find out how many softball games.
696.
696.
Amazing.
Holy, jeez, that is a lot of games.
Yeah, it
that's a
is.
lot of
And
national.
did you have
anthems.
any- did
That's
you
a
have
lot
any-
of national anthems.
Did you have any? Did you have any? Did you want to stay till 700?
No, because, I would have liked to, but when I retired, my retirement was totally financial. The school was going to drop the early retirement incentive the next year. So I wouldn't have got a dime. I got $10,000 for $2,000 a year for 5 years, and my insurance paid until I was 65. I was 57 at the time. I couldn't turn it down.
Right.
I didn't want to teach till I was 65.
Yep.
I didn't. And it turned out to be a great decision for me. I regretted it for a long time, but I got over it really fast.
That's
you.
incredible. How many conference championships did you win in softball, Ken?
I know we won 8 in a row. I think 10 or 11. I'm not sure. I have to go in the school. The
Count them up.
trophies are still in there.
That's incredible.
And especially when that's probably one of the smaller schools in the Siouxland
Well,
Conference the entire
you
time.
always, George has probably always been the smallest school in the Siouxland.
But the thing of it is, back then, remember, that was I think 74 and maybe 75 were the first years that a lot of the schools up here had girls athletics.
That's true, yeah.
Because of Title IX.
Including
George-
Central Lyon, yeah.
Central Lyon, yes.
Yeah.
George had them. West Lyon had them. Hartley had girls athletics beforehand, but I don't know about Sibley, but I know Sioux Center did not, MOC did not, Boynton Hill did not, Rock Valley did not, Central Lyon did not.
I remember
So,
that,
you know,
That's a good point. Very good point, yeah. But still, the small kid on the block, so to speak.
yeah, we were kind of the smallest school most of the time.
Almost
Boynton Hill
always.
might have been smaller than us a couple of years, but we just accepted the challenge of going and playing in Sioux Center or Orange City and saying, we can play with you. We can absolutely play with you. It didn't make a difference whether it was softball, running around a track,
Yep.
or playing basketball. Didn't matter to us.
Yeah, I believe that.
Talking about your coaching, what, Ken, all those years, and different teams. I think you made the state 4 times with girls basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
State softball, I have no clue.
Just twice.
Just twice. But of all your years coaching, 33 years that you put in, what is one of your most memorable moments from any sport that you're part of?
I looked at that question, and it's just really hard to pick one out, but I'm going to pick out us going to the state track meet in 1984 and winning 3 relays on the same day.
Wow.
You can't do that anymore
No.
because you don't have 3 relays on the same day with it being co-ed.
The finals and stuff, yeah. Right,
Yeah, and
right.
it being a co-ed meet,
Yeah,
they
right.
spread it out, blah, blah, blah. But we won the 4x8 in the morning early. We won the distance medley, and we ended the day winning the 4x4 all on the same day.
That's
So
impressive.
who was a stud?
Denise Cattell, Dolly Hansen were the best ones. We had Val Schaefer was a good runner. Emmy Wyatt was a good runner. I don't remember who the other ones were. Probably, I think Deb was out of there then. Deb Cattell. Lori Deacon was in there, I think. I don't remember all the girls.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible.
You know, it's hard. It was just extremely difficult for me, but I thought I needed to pick one.
Yeah, but we're gonna expand it because you've been part of some absolutely tremendous teams. So let's go track. That was your softball. Let's pick one. What was your favorite softball season? I know it's hard.
I think even though we got beat 2000 because it was the last chance for me to coach one of my kids with Deb. Mm-hmm. And Meredith Austin Vanderzee was on that team. We got beat by Western. We went to Sergeant Bluff. I don't know what day it was, but it was 100 degrees outside all day. At 11 o'clock in the morning, it was already 100 degrees. So the transportation director comes to me. He's like, you need to take vans so you have air conditioning. I'm like, no, we're taking the bus. That's how we do it. That's how we've done it all year. Why would we change now? Why do we want a bunch of girls cooling off in the van and getting out into 100-degree heat? I'm like, no, we're just driving the bus. We're going down there in the bus. So he gave up. It ain't 15 minutes. Here comes the superintendent. I'm like, no, we're taking the bus. That's that. We're taking the bus. So we did. We went down to Sergeant Bluff and beat them 5-0. It was a great, great game, a great win for our team because they were way favored over us, and then we couldn't score any runs, and Western beat us 1-0.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's fun though. Yeah, that's awesome. Basketball.
I think probably that first year that we shared, when we started into whole grade sharing, it was 89, 90. You know, the overlap between 89 and 90, you know, that works sometimes. You can't remember.
That, yeah.
But that was the first year we had whole grade sharing between Little Rock and George. Little Rock would have had a good girls basketball team. George would have also. We went 24-0 in the regular season, went to state tournament and got beat by Elkhorn Kimmelton by 2 in the first round and put us out. But there were no classes at the time.
Oh,
You know, there was one class.
wow.
But
Wow.
the big schools, I think at the time the big schools were they weren't playing they didn't play 6-on-6. Like you take your Des Moines area schools, your Cedar Rapids area schools, they were playing 5-on-5 already.
Oh.
So
But still, that's a lot of schools, though.
it's a lot, yeah. We had to go to Rock Valley and beat them in the first round game. They had a good team. We had to go to Boynton Hall into their gym, the second round, and beat them, and they had a good team.
That was a snake pit to play in.
And then we had to go to Orange City in the Unity Gym and play MOC Floyd Valley, who was also good, and we beat them, and then we beat Galva Holstein to I mean, now they just got to win 2 or 3 games and they're in. I mean, back then you had to win 4 or 5.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Well, talk about the good times, talk about some of the bad times. What was the hardest part of coaching throughout your years, Ken?
Absolutely. I've contended this my entire life, dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. The rest of it is all great. But dealing with injuries is no good. It's no fun. Feel sorry for them. What are you going to do? You can't help them.
Nope.
No, I 100% agree with you. That's
So true.
ultimately what I say too.
Hasn't changed.
But, talking about, somebody that's a younger generation that wants to get into coaching, you've been through it all. What advice would you give a young coach today?
Oh, boy. I looked at this question, too, and I don't have an answer for that one. I just don't. I mean, give it your all. Make a 100% commitment to the job, and that's that. I can't answer that any better than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good answer.
That's a good answer, 100%. In that same perspective, was there ever a time when you were in coaching that you're like, it's time for me to get out, or I might need to get out, or
Never.
100% all in?
Never one time.
And when you got out, you said it still hurt.
Yeah, well, when I got done with I got lucky. Glenn Bauma used to umpire my softball games. He had an opening for assistant softball coach at Dort. I got to stay in softball for 12 more years down there as an assistant coach. Got to continue to teach the game, be around kids, and the game I love.
And your last year at Dort was a year of COVID, 2020?
Yeah, we were in Tucson, honestly. It was March 10th, I believe. We're playing a doubleheader on a Friday on this one field. We're going to play a game at 10 and noon, and we're going to be out. Well, BV had been there only for like 2 days. They were playing on the field just adjacent to us. They were having their meeting at home plate. They get a call from Storm Lake. You're coming home. You're coming home now. You're done. Went down to the college on Monday. Jeff Zomer, the guy that I coached with, told me the season's over. That's it.
And that was your last year then, Ken?
That was my last
Season or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
freaky shit.
crazy stuff that happened throughout that season. I mean, throughout everybody's season.
It was.
Stupid.
Talk a little bit. Let's move more into some of the football side. I wanted to hear that side of from coaching standpoint, but move into kind of the Central Line, George Little Rock, the transition. A little bit about GLR or George first, and then we'll move into a little bit of GLR, and then we'll move into Central Line GLR. So, back in my understanding is 1982, Coach Raby was coaching. That was his last year. 10-6 loss to Central Line that year. The next year, there's 10 seniors, 20 kids out of football. I found out today. But they said that in the 83 season, they played 2 games, and then they canceled the rest of the season because of low numbers.
Where did you get that information?
Newspaper.
The way I remember it, the last year we had a full team was Dave Ackerman's senior year, I thought.
That's what Dave says.
That's what 82. That was 82.
It was like Brett Jacobson and I don't know if Dean Kruger was on that team, but Dave was on there. I thought, and Ty Starr and Tom Starr. Tom is Tyler's
dad, yeah.
They were on the team. But we did have a lot of seniors. I thought the next year we didn't play any games. Did we play?
So Kelly Ryan was the head coach.
Well,
of 83.
no, I think Bob left. Bob Raby was I loved coaching with Bob Raby. I love that guy to death. I actually saw him at that team's 40th, or that class's 40th reunion out at Ackerman's barn over by George this summer.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun. But I thought we were done with that. We had this season. I thought we went 5-3. Central Line beat us. MOC beat us.
Some good games. Dave
and
just talked
Sioux
about it
Center,
yesterday.
I think.
Or today.
Yeah, Dave Ackerman was he was the up back on the kickoff return team. Played middle linebacker for us. Just a beast of a player. just a beast. But somebody kicks off to us. I don't remember who we were playing. And it's a short kick. He gets it. He comes running over right in front of me, and Raby right in front of our bench lowers his head and just assholes this guy. Flag comes out. Got called for spearing. But yeah, I digress. I didn't mean to do that. But
no. So anyway, my understanding is that 1983 would have been like Glenn Eben senior year. They played 2 games. Kelly Ryan was the head coach, and then after 2 games, they canceled the season. And then 1984 and 1985, it was still George Blue Jays yet, 84 and 85. In 1986, you combined with Boynton Hall, George.
And we shared with Boynton Hall for 4 years, yeah.
Yep. From 86 to 89. So those are 4 years.
Yeah.
But my question, Ken, is that, and I couldn't find this, is who was the head coach in 86 when they started when you were combined?
Dan Schreiber.
Schreiber.
The guy at Boynton Hall.
I remember him.
The coach at Boynton Hall, Dan Schreiber, was the head coach. But Kelly Ryan and I think Dick Hoops also were part of that coaching staff.
Okay.
When we started sharing with Boynton Hall. Dick Hoops was the AD at that. Bob Raby was the AD. Then Dick took over for a couple of years, and then he left, and I took over the AD's position in 87 or 88. I don't remember.
86.
86? Was it that early?
Yep, 86. So the first year that you guys shared with Boynton Hall, you took over AD that same year.
And then I was the AD only, and then Schreiber left, and Ryan left, so I was the head coach of the Boynton Hall George Little Rock program for 2 years.
So what year was that then? 88?
The last two.
The last 2. So this is interesting. So in 1988, it was Boynton Hall, George, and Little Rock, because you guys were not combined yet.
No, but we were sharing sports.
Sharing sports. Okay, what sports were you sharing then?
Softball and football, I think, were the only ones we shared.
Okay.
I thought you shared track too.
Did we?
I think you did.
Okay.
I
don't remember that part of it.
I remember Kurt was coaching both. The good long jumper, high jumper, discus thrower from Boynton Hall was on that team that Kurt was coaching there. Yeah.
Well, we shared football. I'm talking about George and Little Rock.
Okay, I'm talking Boynton Hall, George, and Little Rock.
Boynton Hall, George, Little Rock shared track. They won the conference meet one year. Baseball and football. We shared baseball too with them.
Okay.
So then that was 88. And 89, George and Little Rock combined, whole grade.
Right.
In 1989. Still shared football that year with Boynton Hall. Mm-hmm. And were you the head coach?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so you weren't in 88. You were the head coach. You were.
Yes, I was. I was the head coach for 2 years.
So 88 and 89, you were the head coach of those programs.
Right. That would have been my son Aaron's junior and senior years.
Okay.
We had a pretty good bunch of kids. I don't know. We couldn't beat anybody, but
coaching.
Yeah. I'll drink to that.
They couldn't remember who they were out sharing with.
That's good stuff. So, but that which leads us into 1990, which is the first year Central Lyon, George Little Rock came together.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that process. I was young, so I don't remember much.
Who started the process, Ken?
Yeah. Who reached out? Or what happened?
I did. Yeah. Boynton Hall, and a lot of these facts were unbeknownst to me at the time, until they pretty much slid by. My superintendent, Dwight Schultz, got cancer. He was sick. The principal, Everett Jensen, had to be the superintendent and principal. That was enough for him. All of a sudden, Boynton Hall decides that they're going to sever the sharing agreement for a pretty pathetic, trivial reason that I'm not going to get into here.
I remember this too, yeah.
But they told us and you just went over the problem we had with numbers already. So I pretty much went out to Dick's house, went up the sidewalk on my hands and knees, knocked on the door, and he answered, "Oh, Ken, what's up? Hey, I need some place for my kids to play football." What? I explained to him what happened. At the time, Central Lyon didn't have a softball team. Lack of players.
Yep.
Did not have one.
I remember that too.
They did not have cross country. We had cross country. This is a win-win. I'm thinking, Dick bought it. We did it. Me and him. Like I said, I had no administrators. I'm sure that Larry and Dick were involved together in this, don't you think, Toby?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I think Ev was good about it, though, don't you? Ev
Yeah.
Jensen, he was
Yeah.
very supportive of the football
Yeah,
program.
he
Yep.
always was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
So we just kind of like
Yeah.
just worked it out. The first year,
1990.
I think we had like, how many kids did I bring over here? 10?
I was thinking of that today. I want to say 8, 9 kids.
Not very many. We had like Tim, Jagger,
Was there a Ferks kid involved?
Matt Kruger,
Frericks and Van Briesen.
Ferks, Corey Van Briesen, Chad Woolham.
Yeah. Chad
I
Williams.
think those were the only 5 that played.
Yeah.
3 years later, my bus was full
Yeah.
every day coming over here. And we had 118 kids out
yeah.
for football.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids out.
118.
Yeah.
So 1990, did we go 3A?
Oh, yeah, that's been.
No, I don't think so.
No, we weren't
No.
3A until 96.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because we
We came close to a playoff. I remember that, but we didn't.
So we stayed 2A.
the first year,
Yep.
the first year that we shared, we went to the championship game, didn't we?
no,
second year.
year.
Well, that was the second
First
year.
year we were 6-3 and just missed the playoff.
Tim Jagger's senior year. Matt Kruger was a junior.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the year we went to the
went to the
championship game.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, we played West Line in the first round
Yep.
on the field here, and halfway through
snowstorm.
the third quarter, it started to snow and snowed for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
We never went outside again. We went to I don't know how Dick pulled this off.
Yeah.
To get us into the Dakota Dome and played Emmitsburg, beat them.
Yeah.
Then St.
Council
Albert's beat
Bluffs,
them.
yeah. And they made a rule after that you couldn't play out of state no more.
They did.
Yeah, that's for
Seriously.
sure. Yeah, no shit.
To this day,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
the state gouged they gouged them on the cost too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how difficult was it to get kids to, because you're constantly changing, to stay out for football?
It really didn't take that long because, like I said, we didn't have very many of the first year. We had probably 4 or 5 or 6 kids that could have helped the team
Yeah.
that were juniors and seniors or seniors when we switched.
Yeah.
I don't think they thought they could play
Right.
for Central Line.
Yeah.
I don't think they.
Coach Knoll and I went, and I don't know
That's
if
what
he
he
went,
told me.
We went out 2 places, homes, probably about a dozen of them,
I was with
and
you.
visited kids.
My dad was coaching. I was with you
Yeah.
guys. Remember going to Van Briesen's house.
Yeah.
Talking to people.
Yeah.
Well, all I know is I've felt over the years.
But
that
I think you're right. I think they felt like they couldn't play.
But
Sorry, Tobe.
the whole thing of it was, from the first day we came here, for the first practice, every week, every month, every year, we were so welcomed. It was incredible. It was just me. It was your dad and Terry Van Berkham did the freshmen. Me and Toby did the sophomores, and him and Dick and Greg did the varsity. It was perfect, and we were welcomed so much, and there was no separatism between the George Little Rock and the Central Line kids. ever, and I don't think there is to this day.
I
is there?
always prided myself on that, Ken. I said, you could come out, anybody that doesn't know our program, come out and you tell me what kid is from Central Iowa, what kid's from Georgia Little Rock.
Right.
You could never from day one.
You could
know,
not.
You know.
No.
And I do think you got the right kids when you got the Tim Jagger type of kids to start the whole thing.
Start the whole thing,
It can't
right.
go any wrong. It can't go wrong from there.
So obviously, see, Ken, let's go back to 1990, and that process happened, and okay, the boards get together and the boards approve of this sharing. At what point did you become a coach, or did you want to become a coach, or did Dick ask you to coach, or how'd that work?
Dick gave me a list that he typed up himself of things that we needed to do to make this sharing agreement work. And number one at the top of his list, Ken Roseberry needs to coach with me.
Yeah.
I
He
looked
told
for
me
it
that
today.
many
I
times.
could not find it. Otherwise, I would have brought
He
it here.
told me that many times. Dick did.
Yeah, we had been driving to athletic directors once a month for 4 years. You know, he would pick me up at the Lakewood corner, and we'd go and talk, and until that dreaded day in 1997, we're coming home from the AD's meeting, and Dick, you know, he always did. Poke himself in the chest. This guy's done, Ken. This guy's done. I'm like, what? I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm resigning my coaching. And I knew he was the person for the job. I knew it.
Dick
nothing to
knew
do
that
with
the
it.
day they hired Toby, I think. Or at least that's what he had hoped for.
Yeah. Yeah, that was how it should have been. And it was done right.
Yeah.
So 1990, Dick says we got to hire you. But was there enough? I mean, there's coaching positions open for you, or because Central Iowa obviously had their own coaching staff already. How did you fit into that coaching staff? Or I'm not saying like if you fit in.
No,
I'm saying more
I
about
think we
coaching.
expanded.
Do we
I
add?
think
because
that's
of that.
correct.
And I
Because
think
of the
George
sharing.
paid for one position.
Yes,
and
yeah,
all
we
that kind
paid
of
for
stuff.
we paid for a
Okay.
coach.
Okay.
Yeah, George Little Rock paid for a coach. That's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It worked out incredibly well, and I shared a lot of things with Coach Null about this stuff over the years. There's no way, well, it's my opinion for Dick, but he said this about you. There is no way that the sharing thing would have ever come about or lasted, built the foundation to last, without you and him being the guys to construct it.
Yeah, we did.
Larry
We built it.
Gearhart told me the same thing.
Yeah, we built it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no doubt
question
about that.
about it. Yeah.
I'm not going to pat myself in the back,
No,
but
but
I'm not going to
it's
lie
the
either.
absolute truth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it just was. I mean, I'm so proud of doing it.
Absolutely.
I just am.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so proud of doing it with Dick and you guys, and you made us so welcome from the first day, and then that one day after we qualified for the state championship game in Cedar Falls by winning those games in South Dakota, I come to practice the next day, and 4 coaches meet me. I let my kids off the bus. They go to practice. 4 coaches meet me. Ken, you got to talk to Dick. What? Why? What's going on? He wants to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to go to that game.
Got it. That was one
You
of the
remember
few,
that?
one of the few times I yelled at Dick Null because that was so goddamn stupid. But it was. I even yelled at Larry Gearhart of all people.
Yeah.
For Pete's sakes.
Yeah, they
I
needed to
was
be
one of
yelled
those
at.
guys. Yeah. Yeah. That was a big deal.
So did you talk to him?
Oh, yeah, I went right to him. He knew. Nobody can ever tell me that guy didn't know he was doing it wrong when he said he wanted to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning on
yeah.
Saturday. He knew it.
He knew there was.
He
gonna
knew
be a
there was going to be.
groundswell.
Yeah, right.
I think you're exactly
But that's just
right.
how he was.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Ken, I've said this on our podcast many times. If it wouldn't have been for me, from my perspective, personally, if it wouldn't have been for the sharing agreement, I would have dozens and dozens, maybe into the hundreds of people really good people, former players and their parents, whom I would not be friends with today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the truth. Reed Gertis is a good example, and his family. But I also would not be good friends with you today.
No, we wouldn't.
I knew of you, but I did not know
we
you.
would just know who each other are.
That's
That would be
exactly
all there was. And
Do you remember how we really first
I
got
wouldn't
to
have
know
got a
you?
chance to work with you.
Yeah. And how many years did you guys work JV together?
Well,
7.
7 years, yeah.
Right?
Yep. Or 6. My first
6.
year was 95, actually.
Okay.
95 was my first year. Jeff's first year as senior year, yeah.
What was your last year coaching for?
That was 95. Yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
coach.
Was that with Marty then too? Wasn't it the two of you the same year, Ken? I
No,
think.
Marty
No,
started
no.
when
No,
he.
Marty started when
got
I.
No, but I mean, I think you ended the same year.
No.
No.
not?
He
Marty
got
started.
out.
He got
and then
out.
Marty got in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
get you.
needed somebody to.
Yeah, and Marty did a good
It was
job.
kind
I
of
needed
it was
somebody
kind of
to
an
bring my
early
kids on the
NIL
bus.
deal.
That's
We wanted to
exactly
make sure
right.
the Clausen boys kept playing, so we made sure we got Marty to coach for us. So.
Early.
There was never any doubt about them guys not playing.
You got that right. You got that right.
That is for sure.
So, no, we didn't get to coach a lot of years, but a couple things I remember. Number one, we always played our JV games over in the baseball field, outfield.
Yep.
And number two, nobody has record of this probably, but I don't think we ever lost.
I was
Ken.
going to say,
I don't
you
think
didn't
we
lose
ever
very
lost.
many games
I
over
don't think
there
we ever
either.
lost over at George.
We never lost a game in George, but I think we played there for maybe 3 years. And then Dick comes up to me. I'm coming to practice, and here comes Dick. And he's looking kind of sheepish to me. I'm like, what's he going to say? Like, Ken, we're not going to play any more games at George. You know what I said to him? Thank you. The next year, I put the permanent outfield fence up on the baseball diamond and didn't have to line it anymore, didn't have to take care of it anymore. Thank you, Dick. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, Ken, and it must have been the 1990 season. And almost to the day he passed away, but Dick always kind of planned things pretty well. He always kind of saw it coming. We had a week off, and I think it was early in the year. We did not play. You remember that? You remember what I'm about to say? I didn't know this guy.
I know I was pissed as hell
Oh,
because I went to him.
I was so goddamn
I
pissed
said,
off.
we cannot take a week off.
Oh, but I was pissed at him for a different reason. Because we all split up and went to different games to scout.
Okay.
And I went to Sergeant Bluff to watch Sioux Center play Sergeant Bluff. And of all people I got to go with, it's this guy I knew of from George. I didn't know him. I knew of him. And all I knew is he was a grouchy old fart that just really got after people and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, what in the hell are we even going to talk about, you know? And I don't know if you remember, but
I don't.
we got in that old station wagon from the school, and we started on our way to Sergeant Bluff, and we started talking, and we never quit the whole freaking night. And we've been friends since 1990.
Yeah.
And Dick knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he knew. He planned that out.
Yeah, he did. I pissed and moaned and bitched at him about it. He said, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Oh, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
Hey, Ken, did you talk at all on that trip?
Oh, no, he did.
Oh, I'm sure it was 50-50.
And when he did, I listened too.
Two things, Ken, that I love that we had a blast coaching together. I mean, every day was so much fun, and Jags and I have talked about that before. But two things I remember. Number one, half line. We'd always do half line, remember? And you'd always, every once in a while, you'd stick a helmet on and get on the half line and go against somebody, too. That was the greatest part.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then number two, every day that the varsity, on Thursdays when the varsity had special teams workout,
We returned kicks.
Ken and I were back as returners. Every week we'd do the return, and we'd be throwing the ball back to each other, doing all kinds of reverses and stuff. And it was always
Dad
Ken
told
and I.
me to be like, this is fun, isn't it, Ken? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting tired, though.
That was so
were
much
some
fun.
Really fun times. Oh, man.
But
and good football, too.
Me and I do a lot of umping with Pat Ross during the summer where we partner up a lot. And Pat's a really good umpire, especially behind the plate. And Mark always comes with us. But my favorite memory, and we talk about this all the time, I think we went to, of Dick Null, I think we went to Lamar's to play one of those years. And I'm just standing out there during warm-up. I just want to get the game started. Let's go. And all of a sudden, here comes Dick. He comes walking over beside me. He's like, Ken. I'm like, what? They're big. Ken, they're big. They're really big. I hadn't even looked at them. So I turn around. I look down there. I'm like, yeah, they're big, Dick. So we went out and beat them 34-6. We walked through the line, do the hand thing, and I look back there. These guys are walking off. Their body language couldn't be worse, and their shoulders are slumped. I walked up to Dick, tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, Dick, how big do they look now?
That was one of Dick's favorite things to bitch about. They're so damn big.
They're big.
They're so
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. Good stuff.
Ken, when that sharing program, when the program started, how much I want to say negative. How much grief did you get back from the community? Or I know you're sharing Boynton Hall already, but I mean it was just different because it's two different communities. How many people do you think there was more silent like negativity that you didn't hear about it, or was there actually people reaching out to you?
No, there were nobody. There was nothing. Nobody came to me. The only thing that was turned into being a problem is I think it was that third or fourth year we started out the season, and over half the starters are George Little Rock kids. And all of a sudden, my people are like, why aren't we playing football by ourselves?
I remember hearing
the
that.
reason being is we could play a freshman game, a sophomore game, and a varsity game every week, all season long. That was the reason.
Yeah.
And playing football for the George Little Rock kids at Central Lyon was always and always will be the best thing for them.
Yep.
Yeah,
I felt the same way for years. We became a good program because we're one of the few teams that could do that consistently every
Still to
year.
this day.
Yep.
Play it, and still to this day, play at every level, and that's what
Well,
keeps us above everybody else.
Ken, I always say, and I know people, and I say it all the time. I go, we're only as good as George Little Rock. If you think about all the years, 91, 96, 99, 06, 07, 08, 2020. I mean, all the years the Dome experience. You think about the George Little Rock kids we had on that team. There's a reason we were tough, and that just proves that when you put two school districts together and you get the best from both sides, you're going to be really good.
Yeah, I can't name. I don't even want to start naming George Little Rock kids. You look back. I remember that one day I talked to you after the game. Russell Leonard didn't get in. Mm-hmm. Remember that conversation we had?
Yeah.
And that's how we grew it, man.
Yeah,
that's just how we grew it.
Yeah.
Barons, kids like you. Were you Jason Stubbe's coach?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a kid right there.
Oh yeah.
That was never going to be an all-state player, but he was a terrific teammate, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
or wasn't
that's
he?
a good way to put it.
He was a great player for us.
Yeah,
too.
he was good. Yeah, good quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. I mean, obviously that relationship, getting kids out, building that. I mean, that's tremendous. What our program is built off to this day, and that's, being the PE teacher, Ken, how much influence you have on those kids.
Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why, I think it's so important. You were the PE teacher. You pushed football. You pushed sports to those kids all the time. When I talked to GLR kids when you were still being the PE teacher, and they're like, the PE classroom was the most competitive class. I mean, it was just the most competitive environment ever. And I'm sure the athletes loved it. I'm sure the non-athletes hated it.
Yeah. No, that's not true. My best PE classes, who the best PE classes I had were? The band and vocal kids. Because they weren't talented. They just wanted to
get active?
Yes. Yeah, those are the best ones
Well, I got
had.
two competitive
I
stories.
cannot
for you.
imagine Reed Gertis throwing balls at band and choir kids and they're happy.
No, that was. I remember you saying something to me about Casey Peters coming to you and telling you that I yelled at him. I did not yell at him. I never raised my voice that day.
I was going to say, if you were going to say you never raised your voice, I was going to object to that. But
So I know two competitive stories from PE for you. Number one, you show up at practice one day and we're running around out there and we're getting ready and we're doing special teams and stuff. You come over and you got half a tooth in the front of your tooth.
Yeah, Jerry Kruger knocked it out of my mouth.
Jerry Kruger. In PE class that day.
Yeah,
Jerry kicked the ball and knocked me. Where were you playing?
Speedball.
Yeah, speedball. There you go. And then
stupid ass me, I had my whistle in my mouth. Flipped her and knocked the tooth right out of my mouth.
Laughing my ass off that day. Here you go, the big chunk of tooth out.
Yeah, there's another good player. And
Oh,
Ev,
God,
and,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You just got to think back at all these kids.
And the other one, we're getting ready for the 96 playoffs. We're going to go play at MOC. And we're waiting for everybody. You know, the George kids always parked in front of the old activity center. And all of a sudden, the car pulls up. Mark Christians gets out. He's got this great big cast on his hand. Shows up. Mark Christians shows up at the game that night with a. Oh. He says, I said, what happened to you? He goes, I got pissed at Roseberry and PE and punched the wall. They have a playoff game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that same year, Terry Brunswick tore his ACL the week before, right?
The day before.
The day before.
So
you go from Terry Brunswick tearing his ACL to Mark Christians with a broken hand, and then you go play a football game.
Then you go play a championship game the next week,
Yeah. Yeah, I ran into I go in Terry Brunswick's dad runs the Cenex in George, Andy. So I go in there once in a while. And I went in the week before we played Spirit Lake down there. And I said, you want to bet on the game? Yeah. I said, I'll take Central Line for $10. Okay. So we win. And I didn't see him again for a 3 weeks. I went in there to get tire fixed or something, talked to him about this or that or the other thing. He's like, yeah, I'll you $10. I said, don't worry about it. I'll get it sometime. So about 3 weeks later, I go in there again. He comes out with this stocking hat. I got it right over there with my coat. And I'm like, what's this for? He says, you like stocking hats. You can have it. I'm like, okay, this is worth $10. You don't owe me.
Good
don't
deal.
owe me anymore, but I won the bet on Terry.
Terry.
Old Sweetfoot.
Sweetfoot.
Schmitty always called him Sweetfoot.
Oh, that's great. What is I'm going to ask you a tough question. It's not on the list, so don't even look at it. It's not on the list.
Okay.
Give me your top. Let's go your top two, because I always say it's always hard picking one. So we'll go top two. Top two best female athletes you ever coached, and then we're going to go to the best male athletes you've ever coached.
Without doubt, the best female would be Kristen Clausen. And the next one, I think, would be Susie Arneson. Susie dates way back to the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the name.
But she was my softball pitcher. She played volleyball. She was a really good basketball player, ran hurdles, played sports all year round. The kind of kid that you love because they just understood that at the time, this has changed. But back in the day, you came and played the sport as hard as you could play it from the first minute of the first practice until the season was over, and you moved on to the next one and did the same thing in that sport, and you moved on to the next one and did the same thing there. But those Kristens, Jenna Jerns too, but yeah, and my daughter Deb was outstanding in volleyball, basketball. Heather was a good athlete for me. Heather scored 21 points in the third quarter one year.
In one quarter.
Heather Grafing in the third quarter against Westline. Westline beat us 77-40 over there with the Kramer twins. They beat us 77-40. They came to the George gym. We beat them 64-62. They didn't go home happy.
That's good coaching.
That is.
No, that was, yeah. And Heather scoring 21 points in the third quarter. That helped.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of fun to see. How many of your former? Let's go to the boys before I'm asked that. Boys.
Yeah. Athletes, or what are you asking me?
Yeah, just if you had to put a team together who doing multiple of sports, right? Who are you going to pick to be on that team with you?
I got to think Dean Kruger would be number one. Dean Kruger was 6'5", played tight end, played both ways in football. He was a terrific basketball player. Couldn't get the ball away from him because he never brought it below his chin, ever. Steve Arneson was good. I just don't want to go on from there.
That's fine.
That's okay.
You don't have to. That's awesome. It's just, again, not people that I know, so I want to ask those questions. That's what makes it fun. Just, again, guys got any other questions before as we sum up things? Because I think it's,
Well, Ken, I was saying a little bit ago how many people that I've been able to meet because of our sharing agreement and become really good friends with former players and parents. Mm-hmm. But at the top of the list is the old coach.
You got that right.
Thank you. I do want to answer this one question, and I got to find it first. Curtis?
Did you learn a few things from him, Tobe?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Some of the most fun I had coaching was coaching sophomore football with him.
Why do you think the GLR Central Line relationship is the one that lasted? You see that question there, Kurt?
Yep.
Why do you think the Central Line George Little Rock relationship is the one that lasted?
Yeah, we're probably one of the longest.
We are the longest sharing
in the state of Iowa.
I heard Corey Brandt talking on the radio a couple of years ago, and he was still coaching football, and he made that comment. And I emailed Mike Elgersman the next day immediately. I said, that is not right.
Attaboy, that was
that
We're
right.
at least the same.
That was bullshit.
No, we're more than them. We're longer than them.
1 year.
We're
longer.
1 year
For
longer.
sure, 1 year.
Oh, we
1 year.
are?
Yes, they're 91.
Yep.
Well, how are we longer?
We're 90.
Yeah, but
Football season, they are 91.
Did Boyden
football.
Hall go by themselves at the year after?
how did they not?
They said so in the paper. So most of
They
the
did.
research comes from the paper archive, and in the paper it did say that I don't know if they had a sharing agreement, but they said that if they had anybody else that wanted to play football at Boyden Hall,
since they didn't
they
offer
would they would go to Rock River.
Oh,
Right. So we
That was the way it was worded in the paper.
We
So
are
they had
officially
not
1 year
signed
longer.
their
So I don't know if they
agreement
had
yet.
signed agreement. I might be
Right.
wrong, but I mean it's a Lyon
No,
County
you're-
Reporter
you're right.
archives. I don't have whatever
'Cause we were
papers
1
are in
year
Rock Valley,
longer.
but
Okay,
it's
Well,
definitely not longer than ours.
absolutely right.
So go
Yeah,
ahead,
that
Dan.
for sure.
Go ahead now. What were your thoughts on that question?
My thought of why the program has been so good and lasted so well for so long is the strength of the culture of the Central Line School. That's what I think.
Interesting.
Well, that's a hell of a statement, Ken.
Well, I mean, I think about cultures and those things a lot. Now that I'm retired and
Yep.
I got time to think about these things.
I-
And
I think about it a lot, too. I do.
I think
Yeah.
back and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, the best two cultures that you can find anywhere are in this county, West Line and Central Line, to me. And I deal with West Line. I deal with the West Line School a lot because I umpire a lot of softball games over there. I referee
yeah.
basketball games for Jeremy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just a class act, and so is it here. It just is. It always has been.
You know what I've always thought is I think a big part of it is the coaches I mean, the fans are great. Don't get me wrong, but the coaches and the players are so focused on it's us, and we keep it together. And there's never a waver in the coaches or the players over the years. And those coaches or players have always been united.
Yeah.
No matter what goes on outside, whether it be the fans or any parents or anything like that. I just think that has a lot to do with it too.
And whatever
I
that
agree.
culture is that you refer to, the GLR kids are part of it.
Oh yeah,
They are. Yeah, they are.
No doubt.
I think a little bit, again, from our perspective over here, is that we ask a lot from those kids, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, you think about it, getting on that bus every day.
Get on the bus, but also summertime weightlifting. Coming over here. But I don't think, people think it's just just going to the weight room. It's not that. It's a culture you're building, the chemistry between the guys. I think of the Mitch the Mitch Lupkises and the Reed Gertises and Casey Peters to this day are still there. Everybody was in each other's wedding. You think about that when you go to the basketball court and you're rivals.
Yeah.
And you beat the shit out of each other, but you turn around and you're in each other's weddings after that.
Right.
I mean, that speaks so much about the communities and the culture and things that were created well before.
Mutual respect as well, don't
Yeah,
you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. You can be competitive, but when you walk out that field, there's still friendships that lasted. And that's the cool part about that relationship that was
Isaiah Johnson, I do the grounds at the George School. I'm head of it. I mean, big deal, right? It's a big title. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That looks good on your resume at age 73, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But Isaiah, he could only be there from this time to this time. I'm like, it's fine. Why? I got to go to Central Lyon and lift, and I got to do 7-on-7 with Coach Lupkes. Is that correct? 7-on-7 with you?
Yep.
I'm like, that's fine. That's where you belong. I don't have any more work for you than 3 hours a day anyway. So.
isn't he a first-class kid?
He is.
Dang
He's a
it.
dandy.
Dang it.
I hope he's okay. Is he healthy or is he? He
And
is?
good. There's a second-generation football player.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, good example.
Mike played.
Mike. Yep.
Yep.
We had quite a few of those the last couple of years. It's
Oh,
been
yeah.
fun. It's been
Who
really
else?
cool.
Drew Denicus.
Drew and Mike Denikis.
Mike, yeah.
Going back to Zach Fugit, you had
First one I had was Zach and Jason. Jason and Zach
Okay.
played for me.
and then you had. I mean, this year we had quite a few of them. And then before, even Jeff Kruger, I don't think played football.
No.
Jeff Kruger, he didn't, but but Lane, just second coming of parents. I've been around when the sharing program
Jerry
was
and
around. Jerry and Evan.
yeah.
So that was another big one. So I mean, it's been pretty cool.
So I got a fun question for you. You might not want to answer it even. You drove the bus all the time. I remember you pulling up every day to go, to practice, and you jump off the bus and go. And you drove it after when I was head coach. You were still driving the bus for a lot of years there, or whatever. Who was your biggest pain in the ass ever on the bus?
Josh Denicus.
There. I knew that name was coming, Jake. That's why I did it.
Yeah, there was one day. Can I tell you this?
You can.
There was one day. We're coming down the road by the old by the activity center, the old gym. I'm coming down, and that's how I came around. I don't know why. That's how I drove the bus here. So I'm like a block from the corner. All of a sudden, I look in the rearview mirror, and Josh Denicus is pounding Jason Fugit repeatedly with his fist. And Jeff Jagger and 20 other kids are in the back of the bus, and they're just looking at it like with the deer in the headlights look. So I stopped the bus, put the brake on, got out of the seat, and went back there. And I said, "What in the heck are you guys doing?" He can say anything he wants to, but he can't talk about my sister like that.
Oh man.
I hope Josh isn't listening.
Oh, I hope he is.
I hope he is.
If not, we'll tell him about it. I knew that was going to be your answer. I could have guessed it. I would have guessed it a million times that was your answer.
Yeah, there was one year. I think the maximum number of times was 65 in one season. I guess the more times, the better, because that means your season is lasting longer.
Yeah, there you go.
Correct?
Yeah,
That
that's
I
right.
drove the bus from George to Rock Rapids for football practice and back through Little Rock and back to George.
Yep.
65
I valued.
times.
65
I don't know if you remember or not, but I
Holy
valued
shit.
coming over and talking to you almost a lot of those days during that time there. That was great because you've always been kind of a mentor ever since you and I coached together. It's been that
Yeah, I
way.
just needed to be with my kids.
Yeah,
And, you know, I just wanted to. I mean, I had to come anyway. Why not drive the bus? Don't have
Yeah.
to find another bus driver. They're hard enough to find anyway.
That's right. And that's all part of the foundation of what we got. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No question about it.
You taught Dave Clausen well.
Dave Clausen?
Yeah, you taught him well.
Yeah,
Taught him well.
Dave's he's a good guy.
Yeah.
They need him bad.
Yeah. Good man.
He is a good man, no doubt.
Well, all I know is it's been and all the way starting back, going out to visit homes with Coach Null to talk to kids about playing football to where we are today. It's been an incredible pleasure. Really has.
I still support the Central Line George Little Rock football program 1,000,000%. And maybe the best thing there is anywhere is the Central Line Broadcast Network.
Yeah.
Second to none.
Shout out to you, man.
Yeah.
Second to
You're
none.
responsible for
That's
that.
all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Football games are the same way. I mean, it's Jeff does all of it, and so it's one of those things. Even on game days when he's during football season, he's setting up and calling it. But Joel does it.
Joel,
Tremendous job.
does a great job calling the game for us.
Face it, Jeff. It's nice to get out of the office on a game day and not have to be in the office, be able to focus a little bit more.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, you have to go down and set up, right? So you go down the field. At home games, away games, it's not as easy to get out. You just sit in the office and wait. But yeah, home games, you got to get set up ahead of time. I mean, you can't just wait.
No.
I mean, so at 2:30, Kurt and I head down and we get things set up.
Yeah. There's always that part too.
I can't be in the office all day with Curtis. I have to get away.
I forgot to add one more thing. I wanted to add this. When we started the sharing way back, with the cross country and softball and football, we did not include wrestling, and there was a reason for that. George Little Rock had a very good wrestling program at the time. Now, when did we start sharing wrestling? Do you know?
2010.
2010. So that was after I was out.
Yep. Yep.
And why before? Because of lack of numbers over there?
Yeah, they were down to taking a van basically to their meets, and I think also just there wasn't the coaching, the program, everything like that. And it's
that
crazy.
was part of it. They had no coaching within the system and that type of thing.
But again, sharing that program, I'd say it's the best thing for both programs. Again, Ken, we won. I can't even count how many times we won the conference meet since we started sharing. Yeah. That's why for me, I push hard this year, shared track. And it fell through, but for me, I think the more stuff we share, the more these kids are around each other, the better off we are. And
the more success they're going to have.
And I will go to my grave saying that. And people can get mad, or this or that. It's like, but the bottom line is that it's showing when you share and you get people together that good things happen. And I will go to my grave saying that.
Yeah,
So.
good. Excellent.
And you got the right people running it, and that's really important.
Yeah,
And we've had that in the football program from day one. We've had good people running the show.
Yeah.
You've been the glue the whole time, though.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I think
it takes the leadership.
that's
of
just my opinion.
what we've got,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well, that's,
You're the rock. Let's say
it is.
Thank
He
you.
is the rock.
well, it's been a pleasure. That's for sure.
CLGLR rock over there, no doubt about it. I agree with you, Ken. There's no doubt. So, but like I said, the relationships that he's created over the years, and I only hope that that's me and in
Yeah.
20 more years.
Right.
That's
It will.
And that's, but again, you're right. It takes, but for a lot of that's easy though. You know what I'm saying? Like even the part that I've been around for the short
it's
time
good
that I've
people,
been,
just great people.
Yeah, they are. And it's just like I said, it's been easy. It's been fun. We've had a tremendous run, and I only see it continuing.
It's been a wild one. Yeah.
Well, Ken, what else you got? What other stories you got?
I don't think anything.
I got a good one. This
Go
is
ahead.
a lesson. This is a lesson that I learned from Coach Roseberry. 1991. We have a pretty good team going. You guys are up practicing with the varsity, helping us, whatever. I don't know what time of the year it was. It might have been on a whatever day that you weren't working with the JV. And we're having a tough day with the varsity guys. And I'm just a crabby bastard. Just yeah. And I'm on one guy's butt hardcore. Now, it was Joel Grusin. I know I can use Joel's name because he's all right. And he was one tough
Yeah, he
SOB.
was. Yeah. Big kid.
Yep, played left guard, or is playing guard, having a bad day, and I was on his case. Play after play after play. We ran it, run it again, run it again, run it again. We must have been about on the 5th or 6th play. And he was struggling, but anyway, I was on him hard. And I learned, and I've never been, this is something I've taken with me ever since. I knew better, but I needed a reminder. And he ran it right. Came back to the huddle. Coach Roseberry comes up, says, "How'd you do there?" I said, "Good, ran it right." "Then tell him!" You were in my face. "Then tell him!" Right in front of God and the whole world. Everybody. This dude needed some humbling. And I got humbled. And I went up to that kid, and to this day we still talk about it. Good. And I learned valuable.
Excellent.
I was reminded of a very valuable lesson. My thing has always been, for every yelling at a kid needs to be a compliment of the kid. Well, I was still way behind, but I think because it was in front of everybody, that kind of evened it out.
Yeah, and
but it was good for me, Ken. It was really, really, really good for me.
There are a lot of selective people that only hear your negative things. They never hear a compliment because they want to focus on bitching about you being negative.
Yep, and that's the worst place for a coach to be.
I went through that my entire frickin' life.
Yep. The worst place for a coach to be. So I got a good reminder from him.
My thoughts on
And
Coach.
tell him.
Tell him.
My thoughts on Coach Roseberry, Dewey, and you'll probably maybe agree with some of this. Dick Knoll it could be kind of intimidating working for him sometime.
Yeah.
And sometimes people tended to be a little too much yes men for Dick sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I firmly believe that he wasn't, and he never would, and I think that is why Dick wanted him involved with the program.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You were never scared to speak your mind to Dick.
No.
And tell him the way you felt on it. And I know he totally, God bless the guy. He appreciated it. We all appreciate it, but I really firmly believe that that's what he wanted out of you, and he got exactly even more than what he expected when he got you. You bet.
No doubt about it.
Thank you.
Yep. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for everything.
Think about that, Ken. You are the reason we are where we're at today.
I don't know.
The godfather of CLGLR.
I helped. I helped. I did my part.
But you don't crawl up to his doorsteps. We're not where we're at today. And from whatever viewpoint you want to look at it. But that is what happened. And it, your ego was set aside to go knowing that we need some help, and so we're going to do this and we're going to do it right. And then not only did you do that, but then you bought in and continue to coach. And so that part ultimately, I feel like, again, set that tone. Like we were talking, Coach Cruz and I were talking. we went from you to, and then how many years? I tried to get Marty to come. By the way,
I know.
I tried to get Marty Clausen on. I did everything I could. I pressured him pretty good to get him on, but Marty's Marty. Didn't work out today. So, but
Marty, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
You shit ass, you should be here. I was really hoping you would.
I was too.
Marty did a good job.
Marty
for
would have
us.
coached through his sons.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when Jeremy was done in '96, and he was
So
done.
Marty
in
only
96.
coached then.
4 years, I thought it was.
Yep.
Was it 4 years?
I think it was 1,
90,
2,
Well, 95, 6, 7,
2.
96, 95, 96. Yeah.
2 years.
or
He coached 2 years.
Yep.
Then what happened? You had no coach from
That
George
100%. That's what we're just gonna. That was
for
my
how
next
long?
point.
Until Reed came, or
No, until Coach Cruz.
until Jeff did?
Jeff took over Ron Snyder's job over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that had to be what year, Coach?
2006. No,
26,
2006.
27,
2011,
wasn't it?
2011.
2011.
That was my first year at George Little Rock. Yep.
Yeah, we went a good number of
So
years.
we went from 96 to.
But on George's behalf, they still paid a
Yep.
coaching salary
Yeah.
throughout that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've done a really good job of junior high coaches for a lot of years. They did a really good job of junior high coaches involved too with it.
And the program
Yeah,
still
right.
flourished
Right.
without even without having anybody there.
Right.
But again, as a PE teacher that was part of our program and understood it, you pushed those
Yeah.
kids. You talked to them with the help of things. And that's a big part of it. So.
And it also helps that now we got the dinky field out there in the infield of the track. It's not great, but
No, but it works.
It's safe.
You darn
Yeah.
right.
It's not dangerous. It's safe. It's a decent field. And the junior high kids come over there
Yep.
and practice for, what do they come over and practice the first 2 weeks of the year?
Usually, yeah, two. Yeah,
At least
yeah,
one.
off and on. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll be back
Multiple.
over here for a couple weeks, and then they'll be back over there for a week. And
we have our scrimmage over there.
yeah, and they have the scrimmage, and we play a freshman game.
Yep.
And a couple junior high games.
Junior high
I
games.
think.
Yes. Yep.
That all helps.
You bet it does.
That all keeps the
But it's crazy too. Even
partnership working, guys.
those
That's
last
right.
few years I was coaching in the middle, teaching in the middle school here. Those kids would still, as seventh graders, they would still talk about their teammates in seventh grade from GLR. It was not these GLR guys; it was their teammates. It was all teammates, and so that's when it started. It all started then.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, Kenny. I don't know if you remember this now, but one of my stories with you and I, like I said, we didn't coach together. I didn't have you as a coach. I didn't have you as a PE teacher or anything like that. But it was probably 7 years ago or something. You called me one day and you're like, "Hey, you got footballs laying around?" I said, "Wow, we'll find some football." Yeah, you remember this? You called
I remember
me
it, yeah.
because you subbed, I think, in Little Rock or George or somewhere at the time, and the kids went out for recess, and the kids were like, "Yeah, Coach, or Mr. Roseberry, we have no footballs." And you called me like, "Get footballs over here."
I did.
That's good.
That's
Get the footballs over here.
Damn
I
right.
remember going back. We packed up a bag of footballs, and I headed over to George.
I think it was just when I was out there mowing and working on the ground.
I don't. You know what?
I'm
I
like,
just know
I'm
you
calling
called.
even up. Get some footballs over here.
It was probably the time that Isaiah and Noah and Drew and those guys were in middle school at the time.
We didn't start junior high sharing at the same time as we started varsity.
No.
Much later.
No, much
What
later.
year
Yeah,
I can't remember what year
couldn't-
it was.
I couldn't say. I don't know.
Drew
It
senior
was a
year,
pretty good amount of time.
and so that
So what
had
year
to
would have been that?
be-
What-
98.
98, 99, somewhere in that area. Gotcha.
Yeah. And that
What was the reasoning why we didn't do it to begin with?
I think it was numbers. George Little Rock had enough
Want to
numbers.
make sure everybody had enough playing time. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Right. Same old thing. Send them over there. They're not going to be able to play.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we didn't have enough to play alone, or they didn't. I think I was gone. And then
I remember one of those first few years when Reed Gertis was playing quarterback for the junior high. He almost had to stand on his tiptoes to get the snap. He was so little.
That's right, Gertis. I know he's listening, so that's all right.
Ken, did you ever sense?
right.
Did you ever sense through the early years of it, setting it up, and in the early years, did you ever sense some of the silliness of old rivalries? from the parents and stuff?
No.
No.
No, I
we,
did
We
not.
haven't had to deal with that too much, have we?
No.
No.
No, I didn't sense anything like that. No.
No. There's been I think it's because of the lower numbers and lack of success or whatever. I think there's been a real appreciation, and there's been an incredible amount of trust developed from the parents, particularly of George Little Rock, toward probably the coaching staff, the administration. But the trust factor has gotten a lot better these last number of years.
I mean, when you run a class act like
Yeah.
this has been forever. How many years has it been? 1990 till now? How many years?
Shit,
Is it
that's
33,
33 or 4
34 years? I mean, it just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm with you, Dewey, though, that just the amount of people that I'm such good friends with
Yeah, it's
that
incredible.
I would never have been, you know?
It's incredible. I've always prided myself in the fact that I know a lot of Central Lyon people, a lot of West Lyon people, and I know a whole bunch of George Little Rock people because of the sharing program. That's the truth.
And you come over there and sub.
Yeah.
You still subbing over
Yeah,
there?
that was something. Oh, yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, later this month, I've got a whole week for the ag teacher. But
Okay.
that was one of the things, and I visited with Curtis about this a lot when I retired, Toby too, at that time, that was my big thing to make more commitment over to George Little Rock. When I was retired, we started the donut thing on Friday mornings and all that kind of stuff, just for that reason, just to reach out more and be more inclusive of it. And of course, then you just get that much closer with kids and parents and administrators. The administrators have been very good. They really have been very good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, it really has. Tyler Glanzer's pretty first rate for us for the whole deal.
Well, they're going to get a new superintendent too.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I don't know.
Hope it's Andy's boy.
What?
I said, hope it's Andy's boy.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
You don't have to bet
Oh,
again.
Terry? Rusma?
Yeah.
Better start the recruiting pitch.
We'll start. We throw some NIL,
So he can be a superintendent?
Yep.
Oh, he can be.
Yep.
throw some NIL money at him. What do you think?
Well, when I do my superintendent
I'm
thing
not
here,
spreading that rumor in George.
when I do my substituting here, I'm going to plant some.
Don't
some
you
seeds.
dare.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell him. Call this young fella.
Yeah, we'll just say Ken Roseberry.
Yeah. No.
Endorsed. Said he's sick of betting Andy. He wants him over on the same
Try
team.
not to play politics. Just try.
Yeah, no, he's able to, I guess. But yeah, that's a big decision for him. He'd be a good hire. That's
It would be. It would be
first class.
That would be interesting.
Terry and Carey.
That happened. Yeah,
back to their
Terry and
home.
Carey, yeah.
That'd be out of the park hit for George Little Rock.
That would be.
I told Kurt he can have my job. He can call plays.
Oh, I don't.
Well, he's got a.
I don't think Terry would look at it that way, but
He's got a.
yes,
Well,
he does. He's
my
got like a,
sister-in-law on the board, or what is Ann to Terry? Ann Kruger. Ann Kruger Johnson.
oh, okay.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope. Well, I finish up here tonight, but again, Ken, I looked forward to this for a lot of years.
It's a pleasure.
Because it's
Thanks.
a lot of
my
stuff we
pleasure to
talked
come.
about. We haven't, one of my other favorite memories, Ken, before we get off, is I remember it's probably been 10, 15 years ago. We called you up because we needed a shortstop for a slow pitch tournament, and went out and won that, didn't we, Ken?
Where was that?
In George.
Oh, yeah, George?
Yeah.
There you go.
Rick Reed and Casey, Corey Keel.
Oh,
and I,
yeah. Right.
We had a little bit of fun that day.
Oh, yeah, you got all pissed off because somebody was they were getting in your head, you told me.
Curtis.
I told you that.
You said that to me.
I'm pretty sure Reed told you.
They're getting into Curtis's head. Curtis gets into everybody else's
They get in my
head.
head. They get in my head. I'm like, what? It's slow pitch.
We got to end this shit now. If that's what's coming out of Ken's mouth, I don't know. was probably that was a fun day too, Ken. I tell you, but
Reed had a day that day. I remember that he hit home run after home run after home run.
yeah, we had fun. There was that was a blast.
So much fun, buddy. I appreciate all the memories we had.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks a lot.
Good to come back and spend some time with you boys.
Thanks for the memories and the foundation.
There you go.
Yep.
A couple of reminders coming up. First, I want to thank Jeremy Sproke. He came and set the speakers up for us tonight for everybody within the building here and listen to the conversations that were had. We will be back in 3 weeks, March 28th, for our USF Lions episode, we're calling it. We're going to have Casey, all of our guys that played at USF come back, talk about the experience from the Central Line George Little Rock side up to USF. Possibly we're going to have some guest speakers join us in a special call that night for that night. So looking forward for that. Again, remember, we're on Central Line George Little Rock Football is on Instagram and Twitter. The podcast, we're on YouTube for the podcast. We have Central Line George Little Rock Football on CLGLR Football on YouTube. You can find it on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. So multiple ways to listen to it. It's been fun. I've had a tremendous amount of feedback from us doing this, and it's fun. And it's fun because of guys like you and Schmitty, that are some of the guys that have been around a long time in the history, and it really makes you appreciate. You know, I went down to a Shrine Bowl meeting here last week and talking to coaches down there, and you know, there's such an appreciation for our program all the way through the state of Iowa. And for me, I'm just starting, so I can't take any credit for it. But I tell you what, it's such an honor to be part of something that the whole state knows where you're at.
Absolutely.
You know, and standing around 5-6 coaches, and where are you from? Where are you from? What part of the state are you from? And I say Central Line, George Little Rock. Oh, Northwest Iowa. You know, everybody knows it. So it's so special and so cool in that matter. And again, and that's because of what you guys have done for us going up to this point. So. Again, as we end the podcast, I want to thank you guys again for.
I got one more thing.
Yeah.
I want to say at the beginning. I meant to say this. Not being the only non-coach right now. Congratulations on what a season last year.
Thank you.
Amazing bunch of kids. Amazing group of coaches. Amazing run you guys made. You know, obviously we know how it ended. It was. We didn't want it to end that way, but wow, what a opportunity for our fans to be able to have the program that we have and the way you guys coach it and the way the coaches coach it and the players play it. And I'm just so proud to have been a part of it at one time and be able to say that you guys are my buddies and just how good of product we put on that field. And if anybody does not love watching CLGLR football, you got to be brain dead, because it's what high school football is all about. It's what it's all about. So congratulations on another outstanding year. I know we didn't get what you wanted to get, but what a year, guys. It was just spectacular.
Thanks, Tobe.
Yeah, thanks, Tobe. I appreciate it. Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
You feel like you let the community down when things end up not the way.
Yeah, I don't feel that way.
Yeah, I do.
I know it's hard not to.
Take it from somebody who's let the community down a lot.
Hey,
you get over it, Dewey. Get over it.
That's a pretty big club.
Same thing. I was down at state wrestling, and I'm sitting in the back room, and I'm sitting back there warming up with our wrestlers, and a bunch of coaches come up to me, and I felt like all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm talking to 6-7 coaches from different communities back there, and then they're asking me about our runs and the game and stuff like that, and I just said, I go, yeah, you know, you always question things after the game's over with, and all these coaches go, do you know what we would have done to be in that shoe? You know what we would have done?
Yeah.
You know what it
never
takes.
get
You
the
know what it takes to get there. And I'm for me, it's like there was no second thought of to get there.
Yeah, you never looked at it that way.
No, I never looked at it as like a thought to get there. I just looked at it as I do things. You know, would I do things different? How would I do things? And so again, and I appreciated them, and I wasn't trying to be arrogant as much as I was caught off guard in the fact that it's like, I expected that to happen. You know, I expected to be in that game, and not that I appreciated being in that game, I should say. And so, but again, yeah, like I said, I'm just part of something special. And but thanks to Hope for everything. And
Yeah, thanks, Toby.
thanks, Ken, for coming on tonight.
You're welcome.
I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did. So
I did.
So
Awesome.
all right.
Absolutely.
We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about our podcast, as we are available on YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcast, and Spotify. And of course, follow us on social. We are at CLGLR Football on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can contact us by emailing clglrfb@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and go Lions!